Hello, welcome to another episode of Asexualise, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, asexual life, entertainment, and education at your fingertips. So subscribe and hit the bell icon right now. So today I have a movie review for you, and this one is called Out of My Mind. It's just been released on Disney Plus yesterday, and so I'm so excited to share this with you. So if you don't want spoilers, please do not watch this video because I am going to spoil the plot for you. Now, if you go on Wikipedia, you can already have it spoiled for you. But to be honest, the Wikipedia summary of the movie, I think they've kind of missed some of the point. Right? I don't like the actual review they've done, like the write-up of it. It's very short and I think they're missing the whole point. So the main character has cerebral palsy, and the person who plays the main character, they have cerebral palsy in real life. And so this story follows the girl who has cerebral palsy and her family. And she's got a little sister and she's got two parents. Now, I have to say, I thought the acting was absolutely superb in this movie. I thought they captured a lot of the essence of the difficulties that people with cerebral palsy face in their life. And I loved the love that the parents had for this cerebral palsy girl who was their daughter, even though they lost they lost their temper sometimes, but it wasn't in a really bad way. It wasn't in a sense of I'm losing my temper, I'm really hurting you. It was a sense of they just were very frustrated and irritated, and they weren't listening to their child. And the reason they weren't listening to their child, like a lot of people don't listen to people with cerebral palsy, is because they don't speak as the majority of us speak. Then they feel that they don't listen to them. They don't need to listen to them. And the actual whole point of the movie was about the main character finding her own voice in the world and sticking up for herself and breaking through the stereotypes that so many people have about cerebral palsy and their abilities, the people that have this condition, their abilities. So Wikipedia, I really didn't like their write-up. I mean, all they say is a premise. Melody Brooks is navigating sixth grade as a non-speaking wheelchair user who has cerebral palsy and a photographic memory. With the help of some assistive technology and her friends and the adults around her, Melody is a little more, they say, independent. I think that's a terrible write-up. The reason why is because a lot of these people aren't her friends at school. So let me tell you what actually happens, because I don't like this write-up. I think it's missing the whole point of the fact that Melody finds her strength and inner voice and allows it to shine. And the whole point is her parents realize she's strong and powerful on her own, and they can't wrap her up in cotton wool all the time. Even though they like to protect her, they're actually not allowing her to shine her own voice, and they're not actually listening to her. So this film is very, very deep, and the Wikipedia premise just doesn't do it any justice. The whole point of the movie is finding your voice. It's about Melody finding her voice. It's representative of all the people that do have special needs and disabilities who can't necessarily speak up for themselves or speak as the average person would. And it shows how people don't listen to them. They don't take them seriously. They blame them for things that isn't their fault. And Melody in this movie is trying to save lives, but instead of listening to her, it's just tragic. You know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. So this is a really deep movie. I would encourage you to watch it. I really would. I think Out of My Mind is a great title. It's a little bit interesting though, isn't it? Because I think it's a bit of a controversial title, to be honest. I think it's a very memorable title. I think it sounds more like a psychological thriller than an actual heartwarming drama, if you like. And I think that you wouldn't necessarily associate this with the main character necessarily, because out of my mind, I don't know, out of my mind, I think it's quite controversial. What it's saying is like, I'm out of my mind, as in I'm kind of lost the plot in my mind. And the other one's like, I'm out of my mind with anxiety and people not listening to me. So I think the latter one is quite true. So, and I guess the title is kind of people's perceptions that someone's like not in their right mind if they've got disabilities like cerebral palsy. But actually, these people can be very, very intelligent. Just because they can't speak in the ways that the average person would doesn't mean to say they can't communicate in their own ways and shine their light. So I think this is very important. I love watching movies where you see things that defy conventions, that defy stereotypes, that show the difficulties and struggles of disabilities, but also show how much these people shine as well. They shine their light in the world and they deserve a voice. They deserve to be in this world. So I think as a disabled asexual person, for example, I have unseen disabilities. I think it's really, really important. I hate when people like judge you on your disabilities as much to say that that makes you incapable of things when it really doesn't. I think if you can live with disabilities and still have a smile on your face, not everything's smiley, you know what I mean? But if you can and you can be resilient and strong in the face of adversity with your disabilities, I personally think that you are strong. You're like your own superhero in life. I am proud of how much I achieve with my disabilities, to be honest. I'm very proud of myself. And I think if you've got disabilities or special needs, that you should be very proud of yourself for achieving the things you've achieved in your life. I think more films need to have characters that speak out. You know, I've seen some movies with autistic people in them. I like these because I think, again, it really shows the diversity of our culture, of our world. And I don't think we should just be linear, as in play these parts which are so stereotypical. I think we should have people who bring flavor to the diversification of movies and who are different. So I loved this movie. I thought it was an incredible movie. At some point, I did shed some tears. And I found it very touching and heartwarming. I think the actress who plays Melody, it's her debut, is phenomenal in this. I think absolutely incredible. I loved the mother and father as well. There's so much love for Melody there. I loved the way they always tried to include Melody. They didn't always listen to Melody, but they did. And that was the problem. They realize over time they do need to listen to her, that she's got a strong voice, but this only pans out throughout the film towards the very end when they finally realize that they should be listening to her. And I think a lot of us in the audience can feel that frustration that maybe we don't have cerebral palsy, but we feel the frustration of not being heard sometimes, of not being listened to, of not being taken seriously. We share in the pain of Melody, even though we aren't in her position in terms of disability and special needs. We share that commonality when we're not listened to, when people are talking about us rather than to us, when people are making decisions for us rather than asking our own opinion on what matters to us. I can relate to this at points in my life. And I think it's so crucial that the message of this video has got to a global audience. I can really see how this movie is phenomenal. It is absolutely incredible. When it first released at the beginning of this year at the Sundance Festival, it was having 2 standing ovations, it said on the Wikipedia. That was the one thing that was good that it said on there. So I just think this is incredible. So Wikipedia did say that, yeah, it's known as a coming of age film. So the film premiered in the family matinee section at the 2024 Sundance Film Festival on January the 19th, 2024. When or where it says it received 2 standing ovations from the audience. This will be followed by its New York premiere at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan on November the 19th, 2024, presented by Feel Abilities. It is scheduled to be released on Disney Plus on November the 22nd, 2024, and that's where I've just seen it on 23rd of November, 2024. So I think it's an incredible movie. So let's start off at the beginning. Again, I'm going to spoil it, so don't carry on watching this video if you don't like spoilers, but I hope you'll join me in watching this video. It's amazing. I've already watched it, but I hope you'll join me in the congregation of people who've watched it. So Melody, in the beginning of the video, there's something that's really striking about this movie. They really like make it very stark and painful at the beginning when you see Melody is given a fish in a bowl to look after, and her parents don't think she's capable of looking after a dog. So she's got this fish, and she communicates with the fish, I think, by kind of like hand gestures and things. But she looks at the fish. This fish swims around the bowl, and it's her pet. It means something to her. And because she can't have a dog, yes, she wanted a dog. And Jennifer Aniston is the inner voice of Melody throughout this movie. And I didn't even know it was her for definite. It says at the beginning of this movie that Melody has adopted Jennifer Aniston's voice because she loves Jennifer Aniston. You've got Friends like playing in the background. She's got a bedroom with Friends posters, I think it is, on the wall. I was going to say picture, but I think it's posters. So one or the other. Anyway, Jennifer Aniston is like a bit of an idol for her. And so I didn't recognize her voice, but it is actually Jennifer Aniston's voice playing the inner voice of Melody throughout this movie. So I didn't recognize it. I thought Jennifer Aniston was a bit more higher pitched. This person sounded like an older, deeper voice. So I was quite surprised, but I'm glad to see they actually put Jennifer Aniston's voice in the movie when they said that was the Melody's, I was going to say the girls, Melody's idol. So I don't know if it's the actual a person who plays Melody. I don't know if it's her idol in real life. I haven't found out that information. I'm presuming it's just in the movie, her character. So Melody is her character. So I was really interested in this. I thought it was really good to have this constant dialogue of this inner voice. It did make the film very interesting. Jennifer was as Melody, saying things she likes and she doesn't like throughout the movies. I think there were some very poignant points in there with very good reflections. And I just thought it kept the narrative going. It made it a lot more interesting. It made you see things from Melody's point of view a lot. And, you know, when you read a book and it's like written in first person, it's a very powerful way of writing. I actually love that way of writing. And it kind of draws you in. If it's a book, it draws you in as a reader. If it's a movie, it draws you into that person's world and you feel like you're in their shoes. And so I really liked this. I thought it was incredibly well done, a well-made film, and it's very believable. Especially as the person who plays Melody's got cerebral palsy herself. I'm like, wow, such an incredible actress, and she's got a lovely smile as well. I'm not interested in women as in attracted to them. I just wanted to say she has a lovely smile and, you know, looks nice, you know, in her face and stuff. So if you're into aesthetically pleasing looking people, then you'll probably find her really sweet looking. So, she's a school 6th grader, but not yet. So in the beginning of the movie, she goes to this specialist school. So I just want to say one thing though before I go on to this, is the fact that this goldfish, it really shocked me. And I didn't see at the end of the movie, but I usually watch all the credits, but I didn't actually watch the very, very last bit of the credits on this. And there's a goldfish, right? And what happens is, I don't know if I should tell you this or not, but it's really upsetting. The fish jumps out of the water and her parents have gone out of the house. because she's meant to be going to school. So like her dad's gone to the car, her sister and mum have already gone out the house, and the fish has jumped out the water, and she wants to save the fish's life. So she's moving the water over with her hands from the tank onto the floor to keep this goldfish alive. And it's not working, you know. She's worried, sick about it, and she's making a noise to try and get them to come and listen to her. So in the end, she chucks the whole tank over because she wants to save the fish. It really, because I don't like seeing animals suffer and upset. And there was nothing at the credits. I didn't watch the credits to the very end to know if that fish actually died or stayed alive. I don't even know if I should tell you, but I've just told you, yeah. And in the movie, the father literally picks it up like it's nothing and blames it on her. You know, like she did something to the tank that made the fish die. It wasn't. The fish just jumped out and no one was listening to her. No one was there to save the fish. And that was like her world. And so that was her pet. That was her friend. And I got really upset and welling up with now, you know, because I thought it was such a shocker in the beginning of the movie to see the death of a pet. You know what I mean? Oh, right, it's a goldfish. But that goldfish meant everything to her. You can tell. I get very emotional. I get very into the character, you know? I got told to go to drama school when I was 15 by my drama teacher when I was at school, because they said how good I was at acting, because I really get into the minds of the character, you know? And that goldfish meant everything to her. And the dad just picked its dead body up basically and put it in the bin. I was like, this is horrible. It really put me off watching the movie. But I did stay after that, you know, the movie got better. But I was very disappointed, if you like, that they did that, because I'm thinking, was that a real fish? It looked like it was a real fish, and it looked like it was really dying, and so I didn't really appreciate that. But I understand why they did it. But I'm hoping that it wasn't a real fish and it didn't really die, but it looked like it was a real fish, and I don't know if it actually died. I'm hoping it didn't really die and they got it back in its tank ASAP. But you know, some people don't care about fish. They think they're insignificant, you know, they're goldfish, but I think they're important because they all serve a purpose. And that was that girl's best friend, if you like, best pet friend, I would say, you know. Well, she hadn't really got any friends. This is kind of the point. She hadn't got any friends apart from the friends she made at her specialist school. So she had got a best friend there. And I think her best friend had Down syndrome, it looked like, but they didn't really talk about her best friend much. They just showed her together. So she had like a best friend in this special needs school. And she'd been to this special needs school for a long time, and things were very repetitive and the same. And it came to having a parents' evening where it was clear that Melody had very exceptional skills and ability. She's very intellectual, very knowledgeable. And there's this woman who comes in who is a doctor and of sorts, and she was doing this initiative where she was putting people for a set period of time from a special needs class, like this class, into a normal 6th grade school. And so at parents' evening, she tries to tell Melody's parents about this program, but the teachers in Melody's special school, they poo-poo the idea, if you like, and they try to make it unmeaningful, and that, you know, Melody's not capable of that, and it's important to keep her safe and all the rest of it. And they said she's got exceptional abilities, and the dad is like, well, if she's got exceptional abilities, then why aren't we believing in her abilities more? Why are we stopping her from progressing? And I really loved the dad's attitude in this movie, because I've seen some movies with special needs and the parents don't advocate for the child. But in this movie, it was so touching because you saw the parents' own struggles to listen to their children, well, listen to their uh, daughter with cerebral palsy. You saw their own struggles with that, their own kind of frustrations and irritations sometimes with listening when they felt that she didn't have anything to say, or that what she was saying was irrelevant, or that she was just, I guess, throwing some sort of tantrum or something, when in reality she had very valid points and they should always have been listening to her. But however, in spite of this, the parents still stick up for her throughout the movie, especially the dad. The dad is like, if she's capable of more, then why are you limiting those capabilities? Is basically what he turns round to say to the people who govern the special needs school. And they're saying, well, although she's exceptional in her abilities, they don't want her to go above her station, basically. So they are keeping her small. They're keeping her from growing. They're keeping her from realizing her true potential. But when this doctor comes in and is trying to propose this program, the teachers basically shut it down. But this woman turns up anyway. This doctor woman turns up anyway at Melody's parents' home and says something about the program and that she feels Melody would be amazing. And there's this older woman in the movie, which I wasn't quite sure how that's related to Melody, if they're a relation or if they're just a friend of the family's. Because she's called Mrs. something, like Mrs. J or something. I can't actually remember the name of that person. I could go and look it up, I guess, on Wikipedia, but because there's a lot of people in the movie. I don't know if it says here. But anyway, I'm gonna carry on. So there's this older woman. She's a bit like, I don't know, she's a bit like a grandma figure, but I don't know if she's related to the family or not, or just such a good family friend that she's like an adoptive grandmother or something. I didn't quite understand that. Maybe when you've watched the movie, you can tell me, because you might know more, or I could just go and look it up, or you can Google it, whatever you want to do. But anyway, I really like this older woman in the movie because she gave Melody good advice about, I can't remember, it's about licking ass, basically. You might have to have your ass wiped for you, but you don't have to lick other people's asses, I think is what she said. And I'm like, this is such a classic line. This quote should be everywhere. And she's very keen on Melody going to this program because what happens, she comes round, she's like a friendly older neighbor, I think, or something. And it's like a grandmother figure. And she says something to the parents. And she sees the program and is like, oh, what's this? Oh, yeah, this is amazing. Melody should definitely do this. And what's happened is the dad thinks Melody should do it, but the mum thinks, no, we need to protect Melody and keep her safe from people who are going to bully her and be horrible to her. So the mum doesn't want her to go to this 6th grade normal school. And neither of them are asking Melody what she wants. So throughout the film, there's poignant moments where Melody is on the bed and she is literally in frustration at the fact that no one is asking her opinion. No one is asking her. Everyone's talking about her, but not to her. No one's engaging her in the conversation. They're just making decisions for her, where it's for her own good or at her own expense. And she really wants to be involved in this program. And she overhears them talking. She gets really upset and frustrated. And so it's important that, this is represented, because I think this is true of people with cerebral palsy. I think this is what actually goes on, and people with special needs in general. They aren't listened to like they should be. And I thought the camera angle really captured her feelings and emotions well, because she's like laid down on the bed. She can't move that much, obviously. She's got some movement, but she's like laid down and like her head like this, and she's listening, and she wants involvement. She wants to be involved in her future. She wants to be involved in decision making. And so I loved this throughout the movie. They were always showing Melody's point of view. They were always showing what the parents were doing. They were just discussing. And you saw at times what happens is it shoots to Melody. And, she's some of the time in these type of moments, she's just lied on the floor with her head, or lied on the bed with her head. and she's listening. You can see the pain in her face and the frustration. At other times, she's tapping away on this device on her while she's in a wheelchair, and she's trying to say stop shouting and stop talking, and just stop it, because the noise is just too much. The noise of people talking about her but not to her is just unbearable. And there's a point in the movie where the screen looks like it's gone blank, and it looked like, to me, like it had little clouds or something. I think that's probably just a reflection on the screen, but it looked like it was black with little clouds. And I just thought it is very, very stylistically done. I did media studies at college, and I just thought the actual way the whole film was filmed was very stylistic and very good, because you really got into Melody's character. They did a lot of facial shots, both on the parents and Melody. And I thought these were very valuable insights into the minds of what was happening with both the parents and with Melody herself. So I really like the camera angles in this. I really like the stylism. I loved the actual script. I thought it was incredible. Like I said, I don't think Wikipedia does it justice at all. I think it's poor what Wikipedia says, which is not much. The whole point of the movie is to do with identity and voice and speaking out, and people actually listening to people who've got special needs and disabilities and seeing their value and place in the world. This is such an important movie. I'm very moved by this movie, as you can tell. So I'd really encourage you to watch it. So Melody goes to the 6th grade school. She goes on the program, but the father is signed the paper to authorize her going. The mother is basically saying to the father, well, I think we should keep her safe. I want to protect her from the bullies. If you want to sign the paperwork, go ahead, but you better be there to pick up the pieces when things go wrong. Right. So at this point in the movie, the mother's very cynical. She's not really listening to her daughter's needs. She wants to protect her and wrap her up in cotton wool. Right. Which is understandable to a certain extent, but then it can become suffocating and stifling the progress of her daughter. And a lot of people who have special needs, they do have gifts to offer the world. They do have a voice, and they are good at things. So the mother wants her to play smaller, if you know what I mean, to protect her. And the father wants her to go for her dreams and what she really wants. The father's always like rooting for her and sticking up for her, because his father knows categorically how intelligent his daughter is. So, according to Wikipedia, she has a photographic memory. So I just thought, because she studies so much and she's always watching documentaries and she's always learning, and because she doesn't focus on a lot of the things that other people focus on, I just thought she's very, very intelligent and got a very good memory. I didn't realize she had a photographic memory. I thought she was just absorbing it because she's got less distractions with other things. Because what happens is, if you have a inner world, if you like, that's focused on less noise, less stuff, because you can't do as many things, it makes you more focused on the things you can do, if you know what I mean, which means you sometimes excel at that type of thing because you're laser focused on it rather than getting distracted with multiple things at once. And throughout the movie, when you hear Jennifer Aniston speaking Melodies in a voice, you find out there's a lot of things she can't do, but there's also a lot of things she can do. And the voice goes between what I like, what Melody likes, and what I don't like, what Melody doesn't like. And you can see that what she's capable of and what she knows she's not capable of, but she knows she's capable of more, and she doesn't want people's pity, and she doesn't want people to think she hasn't got a voice and doesn't know what she's talking about, because she does. And I think a lot of us can relate sometimes at some point in our life to this, when we feel belittled by people. We feel like people just don't understand our intelligence. People think that maybe because we've got depression, or I cured myself of depression in 2012, but I had it for a very lot of years throughout my childhood and stuff. It was a long time. But people ultimately think that people who have depression or anxiety, I do have anxiety still, or a special need or a disability, like, and for example, even autistic people, they feel that they can't do certain things. But if you actually have that trust and belief in them, a lot of the time they can do a lot of the things. It's only because people have these stereotypes and people have these limitations that they place on these people. Just because people have disabilities or special needs doesn't mean to say that they don't have abilities and needs like anyone else does, and doesn't mean to say they can't excel at things because they are so focused on certain aspects. So, for example, some people who've got autism, I have autistic friends, can get obsessed with things, right? But because they're so obsessed with certain things, they can excel in it because their knowledge is so in depth because they've become so obsessed with it that they have to have that knowledge and know how to be able to thrive in their life because that's what matters to them, right? So they can be very, very intellectual people. And it's important we embrace our differences. What really annoys me is when people try to fix my own disabilities, like my anxiety. People get so like, or my fibromyalgia, they're like, oh, you've got to fix it. You've got to fix it. It's like, why? It's actually a superpower. I wrote Fibromyalgia Self-Help Handbook in a superhero style. It's my autobiographical book. Go and get a copy on Amazon if you haven't read it yet. And I literally teach people how to live with the condition in a positive way, to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier, you know? I see it as a strength. I see my fiber, that's me in my Ace Fiber Girl outfit. I see that as a strength. I see my strength. So people see, oh, fibromyalgia, chronic pain, you must be doing something wrong in your life. You've got to fix it. Right. But I have a lot of energy and enthusiasm for life, and I manage it really well, the condition. And I see resilience and strength. And I see that in Melody as well. I see Melody's resilience. I see her strength. I see her being able to cope and manage with her condition well. And she would do even better if people would just listen to her and believe in her and her abilities. You know, and that's sometimes what it takes. It takes belief from other people and encouragement from other people to actually have belief in yourself more, you know. But the whole point in the movie is Melody is strong, she's resilient, she has an inner voice, and she wants people to hear it. She doesn't want people to pity her, she doesn't want people to mock her, she doesn't want people to not understand her, and she strives to always be the best. She's quite confident in her own abilities, but it's just other people that are not. So she goes to sixth grade school, and the film shows the difficulties in the classroom. She has to have assistants, and she tries to make friends with this person called Rose, this girl called Rose. And as a person on the outside, I do think, like, would it be that easy for someone with cerebral palsy to strike up a conversation and make friends? Like, that did enter my head. That is from a person who hasn't got cerebral palsy. I don't have that condition. So it did enter my head, like, would it be that easy to make friends? Because as a person who has disabilities myself, unseen disabilities, and as a person who's found it difficult to make friends in the past, I'm thinking, is it harder for someone with more difficult communication skills, if you like, to be able to make friends that easily? But you find out later that that friendship was in part a betrayal. It wasn't a real friendship, and you don't find that out till a lot later in the film. So I was a bit suspicious of that, because just striking up a conversation doesn't necessarily lead to friendship, even for people who don't have any disabilities or special needs or cerebral palsy. You know, people can just try to make friends, and it can be very difficult. It can take a long time. So I was thinking that sounds a bit unbelievable to me, but then you find out that it was done because the Rose girl thought she was be getting something out of it. Her parents basically bribed her by the sound of it. So it's not good, but you don't find that out too much later in the movie. So anyway, the movie's very, very intricate. It's got a lot of scenes in it where Melody's not listened to, and the important thing is she does get stronger and stronger in her voice, and she gets stronger in the way people perceive her. And she has a lot of difficulties at school, but she also has a lot of good moments as well. She feels finally she can be like other kids in some ways. She can have a crush on a boy. She can think about marrying a boy she got a crush on. She can, mix with other children. She can have a normal education, and she can have an amazing opportunities. So what happens is in this movie, there is a teacher whose class she's in, history teacher, and she's very good at history. And the whole point of the history teaching setting, besides what's going on with Melody, is it shows why history is important. Because I'm not actually a fan of history, which people might be shocked by. I like modern day times and the future. I'm not a looking back at the past type of girl in history sense, right? And I'm not into history museums. I like science museums, the future rather than the past. But the history teacher keeps saying we in order to understand the future, we need to understand the past. Like, in order to know the future, we need to know the past. Why do we need to know the past? In order to know the future. Or why do we need to know the past in order to have a better future? This type of thing. So I thought that was a good point. I think it's very good. In order to understand the future, you need to understand the past and vice versa. So I do think this is interesting. I think it makes history more interesting. But anyway, this teacher has reservations about Melody. He finds it really hard because he's not been trained to help people with special needs. But Melody has got some assistance with the doctor whose program she's under. The doctor sits in with her, and when she has like an exam, she gets someone to sit with her. So anyway, this teacher doesn't really understand Melody. He hasn't had specialist training, which I think is important, because I do think people who come across people with special needs and disabilities, I do think they should be more trained to be aware of how people's disabilities and special needs affect them, but also how they excel at things. I think it shows that there is a lack of education in the education system. And I thought this was, again, another important point raised of the movie, that the education system is corrupt. There's a point in the movie which is so poignant where the doctor says something about the fact that it isn't the fact that people with cerebral palsy and special needs basically can't get an education. It's the fact that the education establishment stops them from progressing. So it's not that special needs people can't progress in education. It's the actual establishment, the schools, for example, that stop them getting an education, stop their growth and progression. And I, again, loved this point in the movie. It's a very strong moral tale, very strong ethical tale, very good message to send to the world. I loved this movie. It's so deep. It's so deep. I wish people would see all this depth in it that I saw. I thought it was an incredible movie that touched on so many aspects of life, and very relatable, even people who don't have special needs or disabilities. Very relatable, especially the struggles of being heard and seen in the world. So anyway, this teacher has a competition called Whiz Kids. Then he needs to have a panel of 4 people from this school to represent the school in this competition called Whiz Kids, which goes on TV. And it's just incredible. Melody does really well in the test, but she doesn't get picked for the team. And the reason why this is because the teacher didn't even mark her paper, because she's got cerebral palsy. He didn't want her on the team. And she actually got 100% marks, but he didn't even mark her. So she purposely couldn't go to be on television, to be one of these people representing the school in this television quiz show. And so when the teachers find this out, they're shocked at his behavior, and he admits that he's not trained to deal with this. And it's just very discriminatory. It does show this discrimination, the discriminatory essence of some people that just can't deal with anything that's different to themselves, and ill-equipped both mentally as well as physically to deal with these things. Like, he could have had the attitude of, I'll learn, I'll try, I'll get to know Melody, I'll get help to help her. But no, instead he has an attitude of he doesn't want her in the team. So she does go on the team. She gets through to the TV. She's in the panel quiz, and she does extremely, extremely well. But does she go through to the actual final, the very final? She's due to go to the final, but something stops her. And I don't think I should share anymore because I think you should watch the movie. But the movie at the end is both frustrating, but it's very realistic, I think, of the problems and issues people with cerebral palsy and special needs in general and disabilities face. And so I'm not going to tell you the exact ending, but it's both frustrating, disappointing, and enlightening at the same time. And so the whole ending, the whole last part of the movie is very inspiring, I think. But it's disappointing. You're like, oh, I wanted Melody to win. And maybe she didn't win the quiz, or maybe she did. But in the end, she wins over the minds of her parents, who realize she's got her own voice that deserves to stand up for herself, speak for herself, and do justice for herself. She deserves to have her voice listened to, her voice heard and shine through. And her mother realizes no more will she hold her own daughter back, but instead her parents will listen to her and make sure no other tragedies happen like in part of this movie again. So I'm not going to say the whole last part of the movie. I'm going to leave it a bit mysterious because I really think you should watch the movie. I really, really recommend this movie to anyone and everyone. I think it's very thought-provoking, very heartwarming, very serious. There are light-hearted, funny, kind of a little bit funny bits in there as well. And it's an inspiring movie. The girl who plays Melody is sensational in it. Do not miss this movie. Out of my mind. Highly recommended. Thank you for being in chat tonight or today, wherever you are. So I appreciate you. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell icon for more movie reviews. If you like superhero movies, you're going to love this. Go and grab a copy of my fibromyalgia self-help handbook, how to manage fibromyalgia to have less pain, more energy, and feel happier like a superhero rock star. This is my autobiographical book, and it tells you how to deplete pain in 25 aspects of your life, which a lot apply to you, even if you don't have fibro. And if you're asexual and want to know more about asexuality, grab a copy of Asexual Perspectives. This gives deep insights into asexuality, especially in terms of love, life, and sex. Go and grab a copy of that. And Diary Confessions of a Hyper-Romantic Asexual, 78 Life Lessons to Ace Your Life will help you in life, dating, and relationships. Go and grab a copy. These are both best-selling books on Amazon. Thank you for being here, and I really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Lots of love. Take care, and I'll see you soon on the next video live stream. Subscribe and hit the bell icon for more videos that are educational, informational, and entertainable. That's not even a real word, but it sounded great. Anyway, lots of love. Bye.